Why did that teacher get fired from your school? My math teacher was a volunteer first responder in NY. She left school to help out during 9/11 and was fired for not showing back up for 2 weeks. He was playing his guitar for students at my elementary school. He had been warned before, but the kids enjoyed it, so he continued to play it for them anyways. One day, the assistant principal was lurking in the hallway and wandered to his classroom. She saw him playing his guitar and fired him on the spot. A whole lot of students were crying that day because he was an amazing guy. My sociology teacher in high school was fired for throwing a chalkboard eraser at a sleeping student's head. He was a great teacher and always did this in good humor. Obviously not a great idea in retrospect, but we all knew that we could get away with sleeping in his class if we didn't mind getting an eraser upside the head if he noticed. I heard he was fired a few years after I graduated high school, and that kinda bummed me out. Probably deserving of a reprimand of some sort, but not getting fired. It's not like he was a sex offender or guitar player. She had fallen off the wagon and was drinking a lot to the point where it was affecting her memory. We kept doing the same lecture on density in 6th grade science for a month, until one of my classmates decided to ask another teacher about it. From there she went to rehab. If anyone wants more context, she was our homeroom and science teacher. She was very nice, and married to our assistant principal, so she had a little bit more leeway. While she was able to remain sober for a while, she eventually passed away due to the effects of her addiction a few years after this. She never seemed like a bad teacher, but she was always stressed to the absolute maximum, always felt like she was working from behind, and generally struggling to keep up. You know, the traditional tail end of the functioning addict lifestyle. Your knowledge on density must be phenomenal. Do not fear the man who has learned 1000 concepts once, but the man who has learned one concept 1000 times. One of the elementary school teachers at the district I went to got arrested for making his class worship him like he was a cult leader. He was totally bonkers. What the F? I don't know whether to laugh or be shocked. This is the weirdest one yet. Students laughed she ate toothpaste. Turns out she was an alcoholic trying to cover her breath. 9 out of 10 alcoholics recommend Crest. Our beloved teacher, Mr. Morn, had worked there for 29 years without incident and was one of the best teachers there. His classroom was always a laugh riot. He was the best roaster and encourages us to roast him properly. He never failed to get us motivated, and a lot of us owe our career inspiration from him. He was fired because he had jokingly smacked a student on the back of his head for making a stupid comment. It was like something out of a sitcom and all of us expected it and loved it. Yet one student, who was new at the school, was culture shocked by this. He thought it was strange but hilarious. He told his mom offhandedly and his mom became the Karen. Never mind that the student was the teacher's godson. No physical contact was allowed, says the Karen. He was suspended with pay for 3 months pending investigation, then was let go because the Karen twisted the story and it blew up around the school. A year later, teacher won both the lawsuit against the school and libel case against the Karen, with her son being one of the key witnesses. We still keep in contact and roast him for getting rich over smacking kids around. Holy sh! Imagine your son testifying against you for a libel case. One of my high school teachers was caught on To Catch a Predator. Wasn't a teacher but our vice principal. Essentially our principal bumped her twin niece's class ranks up to valedictorian and salutatorian. The vice principal, one of the nicest guys I've ever met and a truly amazing guy, did what was right and confronted the school board and told them that this was unfair to those who actually earned those ranks. Those twins were some of the most average people I've ever encountered in my life, and they didn't work nearly as hard as the other candidates for the spot. It doesn't help that everyone on the school board, including the superintendent, was related to the principal. Thus, our heroic vice principal was fired and it was a shock to the whole school. They tried covering it up by saying he didn't have the proper documentation education to be in his position. Though if that was the case, I'm not sure why they would hire him and let him stay for the first 2 years of my high school career. Everyone knew it was a sham, and the local news actually got involved when I called them during lunch. That next football game, NBC showed up and there was a protest outside of the local library. I printed out almost 100 flyers that read, "What are you gonna do? Fire me? Save Lightfoot." The entire school was pissed and the twins' ranks were promptly demoted back to 21st and 22nd in our class, though not until the next school year started. He didn't come to parent-teacher interview night. The next day, he was late for class and crashed his pickup into a brick sign outside the school. Cops showed up obviously and allegedly he blew twice the legal limit. He called the principal a C as he was taken away. Our new band teacher was a young guy, fresh out of college. His first year teaching, and he embezzled about $1,000 from the band's funds. He got arrested and his possible future career ruined for $1,000. I had a teacher with a gambling addiction claim thousands of dollars collected under his care was lost. School never reported it in and protected him because he was close to retirement. This one is actually sort of rather sad. Had an amazing, but eccentric, math teacher who was incredibly involved with helping students. He made sure to always cover his bases, so there was nothing really creepy about him. The year I left high school, was a senior at this time, went on to finish my GED. He was fired shortly after news an article that he had killed himself with a self-inflicted gunshot. What had happened during this period of time was a student had come forward to the administration and accused him of sexual misconduct, both of them being males, and unfortunately there was no real way to prove a negative for the missing time outside of school hours, so they promptly let him go. Being a gay, black teacher in South Texas, rough. He wrote a letter basically denying all of the accusations, but had come to the grim realization that at his age, his career was effectively over, so he shot himself in the head. Later the student who made the accusations came forward and said he had fabricated the entire event because he was failing his grades and angry. The whole event was quietly swept under the rug. R.I.P. Mr. Ethan. You were a good person who was cut down by other selfishness. Geeky AV teacher that everyone loved, knew he was a geek and owned it, caught in a predator sting. The kicker was a spring school levy was coming up. Local police conspired with the school district to hide the charges for 3 weeks until the levy was passed. Someone substituted his class for 3 weeks. Yay, everyone was both devastated and pissed. The district ended the school year early. 2 teachers, they got caught having sex in a classroom. Arrested by the FBI for credit card fraud. It was a few months after the arrest when the reason why he disappeared came out in the open. The principal of my elementary school got fired the first year he was hired, or took leave before he was arrested. I'm not actually sure which came first. So a couple kids in my 4th grade class thought they'd prank the science teacher by pouring iodine and bleach into his coffee when he wasn't looking. The teacher tasted it as soon as the drink hit his tongue and immediately spit it out. He grilled the class and the kids admitted to it and got sent to the principal's office. The principal found out which of them physically poured the chemicals into the coffee, then took him into the bathroom to discipline him, hit him. Apparently he grabbed the bottom of his jaw while screaming in his face. You could hear him echoing through the hallway. Then he squeezed hard enough that the boy started crying. So he slapped him across the face and told him to stop crying. The kid's dad was a lawyer BTW. Suddenly cops were in the building and our new principal was out the door. My high school of 500 students lost 5 teachers last year because they all had a relationship with the same 15-year-old girl. He was a wonderful, friendly and handsome teacher. This girl had a crush. Some B told the teacher about this girl's crush. The teacher felt awkward and avoided her eyes from then on. Girl got hurt, complained to the principal that he was being creepy with her. All the heads, which included my father, were called for a beating with him. He got sick of defending himself, shouted, "F you," and left the school. They fired him before he could hand out his resignation. One was fired for beating his wife and kids. Another one, assistant principal, was fired for sex with a male student on campus in her office. Another, the principal, resigned because he knew about that and let it happen. He pushed some dumb kid who hit him against a wall. My AP Chem teacher had an affair with the principal. Principal got fired too. I felt bad for her. They didn't do anything on school property, and it didn't impact her performance in the classroom. Also, the school wasn't able to find a qualified teacher to replace her halfway through the year, so we were all F-ed come test time at the end of the year. Not one of us passed that AP test. She was always drunk and drinking during class. She would leave us to cry in the bathroom. I heard a rumor that my favorite teacher from 9th grade got fired when I was in 10th grade because he left his class unattended. High school gym teacher. Apparently he showed up to a hotel room expecting to bang a 13 years old but got busted by the cops instead. He straight up didn't show up to work one Monday, didn't call in to arrange a sub or anything. He ghosted the school for a whole week and then tried to come in the following Monday like nothing happened. We also had a 5th grade teacher overdose on meth, but I honestly don't know if she got fired or resigned. It didn't happen at school. He got arrested driving through Nevada over the summer with 5 pounds of weed in his car that he'd bought in California. He had no intention on telling the district, and we only found out because a news reporter from the town he was arrested in contacted our superintendent for a quote on the matter. He was let go immediately. A co-worker teacher got fired 2 weeks in the new semester when instead of uploading a video related to his subject, he instead accidentally continued a previously paused hardcore lesbian scene on the big interactive screen. The computer he was using was slow and tight too, so he couldn't quickly exit the video. It went on for a good 30 seconds before someone pulled the plug on the screen around the same time he lobbed the laptop about 30 feet across the class. Oh boy, where to start? Elementary school nurse was fired for taking the kids' medications. HS band teacher slept with a 15 years old. Swim coach left a hotel that he was at with his mistress drunk and killed someone with his car. My high school had like 400 students. I still think about this all the time. The assistant principal that kicked me out school for smoking weed got arrested for picking up a prostitute, then fired. Dating a 16-year-old student. He was the band teacher. He also had a wife and kid. He went to jail. She embezzled thousands of dollars from various club funds. There were also rumors of her sleeping with students, but the administration never bothered to look into that. Had a history teacher get fired for going off syllabus and spending time on the pre-Judaic flood stories. One of maybe 2 reasons I'm obsessed with Mesopotamian and Anatolian Egyptian history now. The one that fired was a substitute teacher and coach of a girls team for grade 7-9. He seemed a bit creepy, and we joked that he liked coaching the girls and teaching pace so he could watch the girls run around in their shorts. Turns out that wasn't far from the truth. His full-time job was in the medical field, where he was caught doing inappropriate things to female patients, some of whom being kids he coached and taught, and he had 2 sons in that school. This one didn't get fired, but she was at the point where she had a few classes taken from her, and if she did anything wrong, she would have been gone. Why? Well, she didn't know the subject she was teaching, and would make stuff up rather than admitting she didn't know the answer. She was always mad, and we called her Popsicle because she acted like she had a stick up her ray. But the biggest thing was that she failed 2 grade 11 classes, the whole class, because apparently not one person, including the smartest people in the school, passed any tests. Teachers at my high school got fired on a pretty regular basis. Principal was a narcissist, but here's one of the rare ones we actually heard about. The school went into lockdown because someone was seen hopping over the fence onto campus at the start of the school day. Freshman geography teacher locked his door, didn't control his class, wouldn't let one of the students back in, and jumped at every sound he heard. For comparison, the sub in senior literature next door didn't have a key to lock the door, but grabbed the handle, got on the floor, and planted both his feet on the frame so that the door couldn't be opened. I think the dude was a linebacker for football, too.